As revealed in Stark Reality on last Tuesday's From Russia with 7, about the infiltration of the agencies in mainstream media and the revelation that nearly 40 years ago there was over 400 CIA agents assigned to the media and tasked with providing information to the mainstream media. And as it's stated in the document, with the sole purpose of shaping public opinion. They cared not whether it contained a shred of truth, most of it doesn't. It's just a story and another group or country to target with their propaganda. A word that they created, Langley, or OSS, like cognitive dissonance and also conspiracy theory or theorist, all to deflect people off their path. And as Langley agent L2, Pompeo stated recently, we lied, we cheated, and we stole. All in their own words. And that man's still in a job. Where's the consequences? So does anyone really think for 1 second that they're not heavily involved in the alt media propaganda? Because if you do at this point, you really need to realign your thinking to what being awake is about. Randy and I have been given a fair amount of flack over the last 6 or so years for outing certain people within the community, which over time we were proven correct over many of those that got outed. But as one is exposed, a replacement is always waiting in the wings to disrupt, distract, and distort. I wish it wasn't the case. So does Randy. And we have more alt media personalities operating in the right way. But it is what it is. But things have come up this week that I felt I need to address a whole heap of them. And the next 3 or 4 pieces will all be in that field. It's important these get outed and why. There'll be questions during it for you to make your own mind up on it. Like I said, time always tells. So we have a plethora of ex-military, ex-CIA and ex-NSA people in the alt media. We've got Mossad agents, Langley 2 agents, and then you've got Thomas at American Intelligence Media. He is ex-NSA and has a cat picture as his logo. Stephen D. Kelly, ex-CIA and ex-NSA also. And he has a cat picture on his website and calls his show Truth Cat Radio. Do people not think that is kind of odd in and of itself? Robert David Steele, ex-CIA, involved in NATO and the British establishment, and people trust these people and not question whether they are disinfo or faction-based. So Stephen Kelly, ex-CIA and ex-NSA, did another video this week on the death of Mike Ringley, who ran what was Revolution Radio, which was popular about a decade ago, which involved Kerry Cassidy, amongst others. Now, Kelly himself was also involved in Revolution Radio, but he left rather suddenly due to some not too well explained reason. given his short video presentation he gave this week, full of innuendo, ums and pauses. Now, during that video, he cites Kerry Cassidy, Bill Ryan, Wilcock, Ringley, Loren Fenton, Gilliland and Miles Johnson have been involved in some sort of child and porn distribution ring, along with several others. But his real piece was to trash Randy Morgans again, with a topic that Randy has covered and explained in great detail of how this was done and who were behind it. And it was not him. This is not a new subject. This is from 6 years ago. In fact, it was going on there 8 years ago. Now, there was evidence that I received outside of Randy and others, which I cannot confirm whether it's correct or not, that stated that Kerry Cassidy, which is a stage name, and remember, she was involved in Hollywood, which may or may not give you a clue, was making a lot of money via porn connections on her website, as well as being paid by the Bilderbergers group back in 2013. Now, whether the two are connected or correct, I don't know. But Randy's being targeted heavily now for having the audacity to do his own investigations, which he always does, makes his own mind up, and in part supports the trust and what THI are doing. This goes against the rest of the alt media paid agents of doing everything to block what we're doing. That's the only reason for it. All the loop agents are coming back now to cause issues. You all know their names. It's what they do, or what they're told to do. They're no different to the portal people in essence. They're past scripts to say on shows or blogs, which make statements, but is drastically short on facts or proof. Just statements. But let's run a hypothetical scenario, shall we? Which for the hard of hearing means it's not real. But should an independent investigator take up this porn on a server case and look into the facts, perhaps he or she may come to a certain conclusion. Now, the NSA is part of the old control system and trying with the CIA to create a new control system. We all know that. The NSA, we know, is involved heavily in computers, computer programming, meta and data collection, and gaining access into all people's computers with the purpose of spying on us all. That's all been revealed. We know what they do. Now, given they're part of the control system, what if they, either the CIA or the NSA, determine a target or a group of targets and employ one of their field agents to disrupt or target that group? Having worked in that agency, they will be familiar with computers and programming. The agent sent to target then joins the group, becomes part of the group, which in agency speak is called inserting the asset. Then when the agent achieves what it's assigned to do, the agent leaves the scene, in some cases fairly quickly if they've been rumbled. Sometimes the agent is there to garner information, sometimes to take people out, sometimes to plant evidence so that their targets are implicated. I think most people would agree with that assessment of how agency people work. So with that in mind, let's look at the facts. A man joins a group and suddenly there's evidence of criminality and said man leaves the group very quickly. The man is then questioned on why he left and is not very fluent in his speech on reasons for leaving. I'm sure the average FBI agent would deduce the same conclusion. Why is this man not clear on his reasons for leaving when criminality has allegedly been uncovered? And I'm sure the FBI agent would drag that person in for further questioning, would he not? Then the FBI guy would find out that the man in question worked for the CIA and the NSA, and then questions the man. And one of his first questions would be was there evidence of criminality before he joined or only during? And at which point he departed? Further questions would be, was this an undercover job? And so what was his role and purpose as an undercover agent? Fair assessment? You decide. And if you're looking for more evidence, try this next piece. This was a post by Tyler Durden of Zero Hedge. And he said, it sheds a whole new light on just how deeply interwoven the social media monoliths and the deep state truly are. The senior Twitter executive with editorial responsibility for the Middle East is also a part-time officer in the British Army's Psychological Warfare Unit. Remember that term, psychological warfare. It will come up again soon. And it was established by a group called the Middle East Eye. Now, apparently, Gordon Macmillan, Twitter's head of editorial for Europe, the Middle East, and also Africa, not only works for the British government, but he is a reservist in the 77th Brigade. And in case you didn't know what the 77th Brigade is, it is a counterintelligence unit set up to combat disinformation on social media. Oops. So not only are the agencies involved, but the military are involved as well. And they're there to spread pro-Western propaganda on Twitter and also Facebook. Now, the unit was announced in 2015 in response, you can imagine, to a series of losses on the information warfare front, mainly in regards to Syria and Ukraine. Well, Tyler, it's not just that they're losing there, they're losing the information war on all levels. And I mean all levels. They can't control it. Now, The Guardian reported at the time, the British Army is creating a special force of Facebook warriors skilled in psychological operations and use of social media to engage in unconventional warfare in the information age. Now, I remember covering that story, because I think we were still in Cosmic Voice then. Whereas Sky News said, using creative thinking, it is hoped that the 77th Brigade will influence the minds and shape the behaviour of the enemy and the local populations. And people think this is just the enemy is, let's all point out, and it's some other country. Remember, these people class us as enemy as well. That's why they spy on us. And this has led to the early nickname Twitter Troops for the brigade, which will be formally created on April the 1st. No surprise they did that. April 1st launch day is not a coincidence, as it's also known as April Fool's Day. So if it gets uncovered, they then can turn around and say it was all a joke. That's how they work. Now, America has its own unit, which was launched in 2011. Not a surprise, that either. Israel has one too. And these are not state secrets, but widely reported. And now you know why me has said all along that most on the internet from around 2011 and 2012 was pure bullshit and distraction. America launched its own in 2011. That's when it all started to go really sideways. Documents would go missing, sites would go missing. This has gone on the last 8 years. And in came the personality clowns. You all know who that is. And it was revealed US spy operation that manipulates social media was the headline back in 2011. US spy operation that manipulates social media. And Britain launched said this soldier's familiar with social media sought for the 77th Brigade, which will be responsible for non-lethal warfare, which equates to mind control and propaganda. Israel started it in 2009 with a headline which reveals absolutely everything as to what these people are about. Quote, Israel recruits army of bloggers to combat anti-Zionist websites. Not to protect the Jewish people, oh no, but Zionists, which are nothing to do with Israel at all. In their own words, Israel recruits army of bloggers to combat anti-Zionist websites. Another one that's involved in the alt media, I decided to do a small piece on also. Steve Bezenik, or Pick Zenik. I'll call him Steve. It's easier to say. Born in Cuba, born to Jewish parents. Then moved to France, and then emigrated to the US and moved to New York. A Harvard-trained psychiatrist, and then obtained a doctorate at MIT. And after being drafted, Steve says the Navy then assigned him to St. Elizabeth's Hospital Insane Asylum, where he oversaw several wards of criminally insane patients. So you think, well, he's going to assess them because he's a psychiatrist. Whilst working there, he ordered a patient a lobotomy, which ended up killing the man. Now, apparently this man was born in the asylum, and an autopsy revealed that the man only had half of his brain to begin with. What happened to the other half is anyone's guess. I think you can gather. But the question is, how and why would a psychiatrist order a lobotomy? What type of institution was this? So we have psychiatry, and he was also involved in mental hospitals to date. And given some of the experimentation mentioned in MKUltra, it doesn't augur too well. But let's see where it goes. Steve was Deputy Assistant Secretary for Henry Kissinger. Also Cyrus Vance and James Baker. And his expertise includes foreign policy, international crisis management, and psychological warfare. Psychological warfare added to the list now. In 1974, he joined the United States Department of State as a consultant to help in the restructuring of its offices for the prevention of terrorism. And we all thought that started in the 2000s. By 1976, he was now a specialist on hostage taking. In 1978, Steve was known as a psychiatrist and now also a political scientist in the US Department of State. Quite a flexible guy. But then Steve took another turn. He acquired another specialist position, this time as a special envoy for President Jimmy Carter to Italy, to assist in the search for Italy's Prime Minister Aldo Moro. Steve, now described as an international crisis manager and hostage negotiator in the State Department, said the committee was jolted into action by the fear that Moro would reveal state secrets in an attempt to free himself. Why would an American be interested in an Italian revealing state secrets? And what were they frightened he was going to reveal? Steve said that Moro, quote, had been sacrificed for the stability of Italy, which in our terms means he was taken out, as that person was not playing the agency game, as the next line will reveal. Moro's eventual assassination has been attributed to the CIA as part of Operation Gladio. Oh my. And there you have it. As explained in From Russia with Love 7, which Operation Gladio, like Condor, was done by the CIA and the P2 Lodge, known as Propaganda Due. And it's all about shutting people down. Steve said it himself. Moro was sacrificed for the stability of Italy. Then in 1979, he resigned as Deputy Assistant Secretary of State over the handling of the Iranian hostage crisis. In 1980, he wrote an article for the Washington Post in which he claimed to have heard a senior US official in the Department of State Operations Center give permission for the attack that led to the death of US Ambassador Adolph Dubs in Kabul, Afghanistan. You all know who did that. In 1982, Steve was mentioned in an article in the New York Times as a psychiatrist who treated CIA employees. No. Treated or actually worked for the CIA, given his previous role in Italy. You know how they love to cover their agents and their tracks up. Then in 2001, Steve operated as Chief Executive Officer of Strategic Intelligence Associates, which is a consulting firm. All very Robert David Steele, that to me. And these private intelligences are all still connected to the main hub of the CIA, Five Eyes, which is now No Eyes, and the NSA. And despite searching for that company, I found no evidence of this Strategic Intelligence Associates, only Strategic Intelligence and Associates Limited, which is a British-based company with people listed as shareholders with Middle Eastern people's names. Make of that what you will. As recently as October the 6th, 2012, Steve was listed as a member of the Council of Foreign Relations. Oops. Mysteriously, his name was removed from the Council of Foreign Relations roster sometime between October the 6th and November 18th of 2012. Why was his name removed? Was it possible to become an undercover agent in the alt media? Question mark. Then in early 2013, he made a foray into the alt media and went on Alex Jones' channel. You decide. I was going to end there, and then I found something else that has to be addressed, which will complete the alt media clown game. Matt and Megan again. Known as the Divine Ms. M and Mary Magdalene, and Matt now goes as Matthias Imhotep, and also Thomas, who was Jesus' brother. And if you can get past that level of sanctimonious, highfalutin, I'm all important bullshit, then they have a new website that has all the hallmarks of clown operations and actually reveals who they're working for. The website is called OmniFi. Omni means all. Fi, going along with sci-fi, means fiction. So their title means all fiction. It talks of a global grid of communications, mentions the term decentralize, both of which was covered in the Clowns in Panic Facebook Libra coin show. Selling gold back, not gold coins, gold back coins. Reserve coins, are they federal? And AI blockchain. Launching in November, they say, is Gaia tokens, the first digital currency that goes beyond gold back coin. Gaia Pay as a merchant app allows any natural reserve asset to be used as currency. Okay. They go further. Launching in December this year, smartphones. Next generation. Where have we heard that term before? Super smartphones that are 5 years ahead of all the rest, with technologically advanced features such as a battery the size of a speck of dust that lasts a whole year, they claim. Via the global mesh grid. I hope you grasp that. The global mesh grid. Sounds like a new veil to me. But here's the kicker. And this will send certain members and alt media scurrying to the hills with claims that we're all going to die again. The phones that they're putting out uses not 5G, but 6G. Ooh, we're all going to die. They're also advertising electronic intelligence, in other words, AI. HoloWeb Super Search, which will be ran by Amazon, and no doubt will be 10 times worse than Go Ogle. They're going to bring out e-commerce social media, which means loads more adverts and you have to pay for it. You will hear this term often, used twice in op-eds tonight. Meta. showing or suggesting an explicit awareness of itself or oneself as a member of its category is the definition for Meta. They are launching the Meta Cloud, Super Cloud all-in-one, Master Media Vault and Network. And if you haven't caught on to who and what is all behind this yet, the final category in their Meta Cloud is Intelligence OS, which is OS open source intelligence, as in OSINT, which is the same company as Robert David Steele again. Oh my. So now you all know as to why Kim dropped Megan from the team. She wanted to be with Matt, who is connected to Rogue Pentagon and the RV crew, and went off to sell sunshine in Sedona, in Mount, not Shasta, but Shyster. And contrary to popular opinion in the woo-woo New Age alt-media clowns, Mount Shasta is not a nice place to go. It's riddled with negative beings and rather not nice entities.